Just wait. Yeah, good. Just fuck. What am I doing? I was thinking about this yesterday. I fucking hate lockdown, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm really good at it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, I'm learning how to make beats at the moment. I'm learning how to scratch. Like, I'm learning how to speak Chinese. I'm fucking training all the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what fucked me up about lockdown is that I got real good at like last year. Like, I fucking loved that shit,
Mm,
and then I came out, and then I was like, oh, I gotta figure out how to be a person again, and
mm,
it took me a while, and I'm only just getting used to it. I'm only getting my confidence back now, and I've always been really extroverted, so it's like it was
mm.
weird for me not to have confidence. And then I was thinking it's like The Godfather. It's like the moment I get out, they pull me back
Back
in.
in. Yeah, yeah. I love that scene, man. I love that scene. You could
Let
use
me.
that. You could use that quote for almost anything in life, eh? When you find yourself in a situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, like I'm
What's
really good.
what's up with learning Chinese? Is that something you just wanted to do, or?
Yeah, well, I lived in Malaysia for 2 years,
Oh
and
shit! All right.
I
Yeah.
learned to speak Bahasa pretty good.
Mm.
And then I got back and like no one speaks Bahasa.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like even I'd run to
Yeah.
Malaysian people and they'd be like, "Oh, like I haven't spoke that in ages,"
Yeah.
like because
Yeah. Yeah.
most people speak English in Malaysia.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I thought I'd learn a language that's like more commonly spoken. And
Yeah.
like honestly, when you start learning how to speak Mandarin, it's everywhere. It is
Mm.
insane how much opportunity you have to speak Mandarin like all the
Mm.
time. Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
So yeah, but it's a slow process. I'm doing it. I'm doing it super slow. I think I'm on like I can write, read, and like speak about 120 characters now. So
Shit.
I'm aiming to get to a
Yeah.
thousand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be a pretty universal language, I think, at some point. You know, it probably already is kind of in more places than you probably think, eh?
Well, the characters are everywhere. Like
Mm.
once I started being able to read it, I was like, oh, it's on everything. Like
Mm.
yeah, because the Chinese market's so big. So even in Australia, like
Mm.
there's sections of the city where I just hear people speaking Mandarin
Mm.
everywhere.
Mm.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Man, I was last few days I've been bumping Happy is Cool, and I've just been listening to it. I made my wife listen to it as well. I said, hey, guess who was I just let her know who's coming on, that we were gonna tee up today. And what got you started, man? What got you down this lane? Let's go back to the very beginning. Like what got you into music and what got you wanting to rap and write?
Yeah. So when I was like 12 years old, like, well, it really started like when I was about 10,
Mm.
I actually heard the Temptations for the first time. Do you know the Temptations?
Temptations.
The song My Girl Talking
Oh yeah,
About,
yeah, 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 my girl. Yeah, 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 yeah.
which is terrible, but
Yeah.
I heard that song and I was a little kid. I was so young, but I just loved it. And I was like, I want to be a singer. Like, when
Mm,
you're a little kid, you just
mm,
decide, I want to be a
mm,
singer. My parents were real supportive. So they were like, cool, we're going to put you in singing classes.
mm,
So I started doing singing classes and but it's all like classical stuff, like there
mm,
wasn't really anywhere to sing much contemporary stuff because I grew up in Noosa, so it's like real small town sort of, anyway.
mm,
So I was doing singing lessons for a few years, but nothing that like inspired me. It was just like,
mm,
oh, this is how you learn, to sing.
mm,
And I was doing that for ages. And then when I was 12, my cousin, he pulled me and my brother into his room one day. It was like he'd found something like this new thing. He's like, man, you gotta hear this thing.
mm.
And we're like, what is it? And he's like, it's hip hop music. You gotta hear
Yeah.
hip hop. And it's so crazy to think back that like we didn't know what that was. It was like, oh, what's this? What's
Mm,
this thing? And he showed me Eminem's Guilty Conscience. Do you remember
mm.
that song with
Yeah, of
Dr.
course
Dre?
I do. Yeah, of course I
Yeah.
do. It's right. Yeah.
And I remember as a kid, it was like, oh man, it was like watching a movie. I was like, whoa, like it was, man, it's so crazy. It gets my heart racing right now. Like it was just
Mm,
like the first peek into this thing. And I was, oh man, I was blown away. It was just crazy. So I
mm,
went home and I started writing immediately with like no goal. I wanted to write raps. And I think that's the funny thing. That's the difference is when I heard singing, I wanted to be a singer. But when I heard rapping, I wanted to rap. It wasn't about wanting to be something, but it was about wanting to do something. And I just started doing it and really bad raps, like just super gangster stuff. I'm like 12, and I thought because at the time I didn't realize hip hop was a medium just for expression across universal expression. I thought like hip hop is a genre where you rhyme and you rap about these subjects. So I'm like 12 and I'm rapping about having a Glock and blah blah blah.
yeah, yeah.
And then I walked past my brother's room one day and I heard rapping, And I knock on the door and I look in and my brother's there rapping. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, ever since we heard that song, I've been fucking rapping
No way.
raps. Yeah. So like
Yeah,
exactly the same time. So he's about 2 or 3 years older than me.
gotcha.
And back then it was like, how old are you?
I'm 30. I'll be 34 in August.
Oh, sweet. So we're like similar ages. So
Yeah,
you
how old are
probably,
you?
I'm 32.
Oh, fucking hell. Yeah,
So like,
yeah, yeah. So we
yeah.
got
So like,
we're this kind of the same generation. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
all this
yeah,
you'll
yeah.
understand.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
because back then hip hop wasn't cool.
Yeah, yeah,
People
yeah.
hate
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
people were like, oh, why are you trying to be black? Blah blah blah. Like
Yeah, yeah,
everyone
yeah, 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 yeah.
hated that stuff. So there was no way to really commune for it except on the internet, which was also really new. It's
Mm,
just insane. So
mm,
yeah, my brother got onto these forums and he started learning how to rap. And then he got real good at it. And he got into the rhyme schemes and he got into the culture. Like, you can't bite, you can't steal
mm,
other people's raps. You got to do your own thing. And he'd always say to me, like, you're doing all these flows. It doesn't really matter if you're not saying nothing. You gotta say something. It's really important that you're saying something. And
mm,
and yeah, I feel like my brother, as much as like Eminem started it for me, and then like my brother like guided me very much through like my teenage years where it was really, I mean, all I did between 12 years old and like 23 was like, well, probably not 12, but I started smoking weed when I was like an early teen,
mm,
and I smoked weed all day, every day
mm,
until I was probably about 23. And along with that culture came just fucking rapping. Like it was
mm,
just all
mm,
nonstop. Yeah.
mm.
Anyway, so that's basically the origin story. Yeah.
What was like some of your biggest what was the influences when you were listening to music? Like because I get some vibes, but I want to hear you say it first because when I listen to it, they're like, I get a bit of like, man, the one person who's probably one of my favorites who passed away was Mac Miller, and some of the tracks that I listen to, I just get that vibe, like I just get that Mac Miller vibe where it's not just that typical cadence, that typical hip hop beat, but man, you got like live instruments, you hear the drums, you hear all these things, but the way you flow over it, it's just there's different vibes. But like, what was kind of your biggest influences when you were making music? What did you kind of refer to or listen to that kind of set you on your path?
Um, I mean, I've been doing it for so long, so I
Yeah,
mean, like, because first of all, I love Mac Miller. Like,
yeah,
I fucking love
yeah,
Mac Miller.
yeah, man,
I was
yeah, like,
rapping for a long time before he was around. I mean,
yeah,
he passed away when he was 25. I think I was
yeah,
30 when he passed away. So,
yeah,
like, but I remember when he first came out with that like cool Kool-Aid and frozen
yeah,
pizza.
with the kids
Stuff.
mixtape. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
remember being like, this is cool. It's like he's like this young guy, but he's doing
yeah,
90. I remember he was like, what is it? Like,
yeah,
I smoke herb and I make
yeah,
music. I don't
yeah,
even talk about it, boy. I just do it. I was like, this is sick. Anyway,
yeah,
I remember showing it to my friend and he was just like, this will pass. And I was like, I
yeah,
don't know about that.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
anyway, sorry, it's a separate subject, but yeah, I
yeah,
love Mac Miller.
mm,
But it's saying that like when I was younger, like, no, I did, he wasn't even around. So
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
my early influences were like super underground when I was like younger. I was like staunch underground, like
mm,
which is kind of trippy. Making the happy is cool because it's kind of a flip on people now doing this, but also how I felt when I was younger, where it was like happy's not cool. Oh, you're a sellout.
yeah,
Blah blah blah
yeah,
blah. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
It was
yeah,
all about being fucking raw and fucking lyrical commission and all these bands who are really great. Like I still love all that raw shit, but I just yeah, so when I was younger, English rap was, if I was going to really pinpoint it, it'd be like English hip hop, like Task Force, Kalashnikov, Jest, all of those guys, like Mud Family, Skinny Man, all that. And then like a lot of gangster rap, Eminem was obviously like really
mm,
big, MOP, like Mob Deep, like all the
mm,
classics.
mm.
Yeah, but I mean when we were younger, like man, we just wanted to be Task Force. Like you ever listen
Mm.
to Task Force?
No, I haven't properly, but I will now. Yeah, I will now. Yeah,
Do you know like High Focus? Like, do
yeah,
you
yeah,
follow
yeah,
much?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
Task Force and that are like the generation before that.
Okay.
You got like Task Force is a guy called Chester P and his brother Farmer G,
Mm,
and then Louis Slippers I think makes the beats, and they're just man, they're so good. Chester P is still
mm,
one of my favorite rappers, like hands down.
mm,
But they're brothers, and one of them
mm,
has straight hair, and one of them's got curly hair. And me and my brother have straight and curly hair. So when we were
mm,
kids, we were like, oh shit,
mm,
like we're like we should be like Task Force,
mm,
but yeah, so I'd say that was the early stuff. Oh, also that was really big was anything under like rhyme sayers. So like we were really into the battle rap scene back when it was freestyle, you know, Scribble Jam and all that. So
Yep,
like
yep, yep.
Idea from Idea and Abilities is probably my hands down favorite rapper of all time. And then like you got like Atmosphere and Sage Francis and like all those
Mm,
guys.
mm.
Yeah, but that was back in the day that was my shit. Oh, Wu-Tang. You got to mention Wu-Tang.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah,
man. I mean, that's
Wu-Tang was
yeah, Wu-Tang's for the kid, for the children, bro.
yeah, I love Wu-Tang.
Yeah, like yeah, I mean, even like I think the age gap between you and your brother is pretty similar to me and my older brother. Like we're 3 years apart, so a lot of my influence came from them. But then like when I was like 18, 19, man, like I just similar to what you were saying about your brother, like I just went deep. I just went deeper than just listen to the music, but like even just how they went about presenting hip hop and the video content and the branding and all those things. And that's kind of how I started building what I'm trying to build here in Australia, which is I'm trying to provide that kind of that kind of platform, and not so much platform, but just being able to connect that culture. So for me, like obviously a lot of 90s hip hop, early 2000 hip hop, but like a lot of like the guys that you mentioned, like Wu-Tang and etc., and Naughty by Nature, and all of those guys.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah,
You come out.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, but and then yeah, so yeah, like that's kind of how I kind of grew up on it. I grew up on that kind of music, but I've always kind of, um, I've always kind of ventured out and tried to kind of not so much go outside the genre, but you would know more than anyone. Like with hip hop, you got that typical hip hop vibe, but then there's people that push those boundaries, in terms of the sound and in terms of just those vibrations. And that's what I really liked about your album, was that element of hip hop is there, but it's not your typical, your heavy drums and you know what I mean and whatnot. So it's almost like when I was driving and I was listening to it, it's almost like I could go to a really nice, like I wouldn't say a club, but those where you have those live musicians and stuff, like really nice vibey places, and I could see myself sitting there having a drink and listening to you rap, with a live set, you know what I mean? And that's, it seems like it's an easy thing to do, but I truly believe it's not that easy. Like to be able to have a live set. I don't know if you remember, but when Nas was celebrating the Illmatic tour, it was like 20 years or whatever, and he actually went and ended up reciting the whole album with a live set, and it just sounded so amazing, bro. Yeah, it was fucking amazing.
Great,
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Like I actually bought the album, and it's like you tell people you got CDs these days, they trip out, but I still got the CDs. It's just I don't have anything to put it on some days, even cars don't come with CD players anymore, man. So but but yeah, so like I just think there's such a beauty to be able to do it that way with live instruments. It's just a whole different vibe. You receive it differently as well. And then when did you kind of realize you wanted to kind of really take it serious? I know you were saying you wanted to rap, and I really liked what you said when you said it's not I can't quote it exactly, but you were saying like it wasn't about being something, but it was about doing something. And you wanted to rap. Like at what point did you say like, man, I'm gonna go full blown with it? Um because there's doing it for fun, but then like I could tell by listening to your music, like it's really thought out process, like from the sound to your flow. And the one thing about your flow, actually, I wanted to touch on it, was, I don't know the exact way to explain it, but how the way you just kind of your breathing patterns, like it sounds very like, when Snoop goes, SNOOPDOGG, like, but you seem to have that real presence. And when I hear you say it, I'm like, dude, I haven't heard that kind of breathing pattern on like the old West Coast tracks, like especially Snoop and all those guys used to really kind of use that breathing pattern so well. And a lot of your tracks have that. Was that just something that you developed, like something that just felt natural to you? But because I don't really hear that kind of breathing pattern on when people are rapping. Like, to be honest, in modern day, I don't really hear it. But it just took me back when I hear you kind of rhyme over those beats, and when you're rapping and the way you use those, you stretch those words, and it just makes me reminisce about those early 90s, those gangster rap, and just the way Snoop used to really drag out those words, and it just sounded so like, yeah, it just sounded so reminiscent of that. Like, was that just something you developed by practicing over time?
I don't I mean, it's definitely something I've developed over time. It's, when you start, you sort of emulate people, and
Mm,
then you get to a point now where, I mean, it's like no one wants to be a biter, right?
mm,
But I mean, everyone's biting the fact that someone rhymed for the first time ever. So,
mm, mm,
you know what I
mm,
mean? In one
mm,
sense, it's never original because we didn't invent rhyming. So,
mm.
yeah, but I think I'm such a huge like I'm made up of like so many different influences. It's hard
Mm.
to say
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because you'd have to show me the specific flow. But
Mm.
there's definitely, sitting in the pocket.
Yeah, yeah.
I still rap really fast sometimes. But if you listen to my most recent like song, Magician, I'm trying to learn to use space a little bit more.
Yeah,
Like I'm
yeah, yeah.
starting to realize how valuable space is and how valuable it is giving yourself the luxury of breathing. Because usually I try to like fill every space, and
Yeah.
now I don't really do that as much anymore because I think your vocal presence comes across better if you can breathe more. So I always like try to give myself that comfort because if you
Mm,
go too hard, it might be like really impressive in one sense, but in
mm,
another sense, it makes you feel kind of uncomfortable listening to it because you can hear
mm.
the person straining a lot.
Yeah, I think it was
Um,
till we meet again, because I was just listening to that
yeah.
before we popped on.
Oh
But
yeah, that one's super chill.
no,
I
no,
wasn't.
no, 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 till we meet again. Like,
Yeah,
like I was just listening to it. I was like, damn, man. I was like it was just such a, like you just touched on it, right? Like everyone when they get on a beat and they start rapping, it's just like it's almost like you're chasing the beat, but
yeah.
you make the beat work for you, and I
What's the
fucking love
puppet?
that, man. Like that
Yeah,
is the art in itself. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can respect that. Like I used to do a bit of music. Like that's how I got. Like I rapped a little bit in the early days. Like my mate had a studio and whatever. So, um, but like to make the beat work for you, like that's impressive. Like that's not easy to do, and it's just there's a sense of, you got to be, there's a sense of being comfortable about it as well, and yeah, just the dragged your words and the way you were just comfortable on it, man. I love that vibe. I like, because it just, I don't know, it just makes it makes me anyway, like it makes you tickle a different way when you're listening to it. It's not like that typical flow, where you're just constantly kind of keeping up with the beat. But yeah, it's just that when I was listening to that track, it just made me really reminisce about a lot of artists from the early days that I listened to, that had the ability to do that, and there's artists that still do it, but just the way you sound on it, it just really took me back. And I was like, man, I haven't heard it like that in a long time. Like even guys, like I was saying, when Snoop and all them, they don't even do it anymore, but these are like the early days, but yeah, it was just dope, man. I was just it was just something that yeah, it was like, man, it was just dope listening to it. But and the other track that I really love is which one was it? Bear with me, bro, because I'm just like getting to know the
nice,
names as
bro.
well. I think it was Got Rhythm. I really like
Yeah.
how that switched up, man, when I was listening to the album as well. That was dope as well. So
Did you see
um
the video?
yeah, 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 I did, man. I did. Yeah, yeah.
Because the two other guys are from Brizzy.
Oh, they're from Brazil, yeah. Because you were
Yeah.
originally from there, right? Or closer to there, is that right? Or
So I'm originally from the Sunshine Coast, so Brisbane's kind of my city,
gotcha.
like
Yeah,
that I grew up. Yeah, and then like when I got older, it's funny actually when I moved to Melbourne because I've been here for I don't know 7 or 8 years or
yeah,
something on and off.
yeah,
And when I moved here, I used to travel back to Brisbane a lot, and I'd stay in my friend's share, like
yeah,
in his spare room.
yeah, yeah,
Brisbane's kind of I could move to Brisbane today, and it would just be like I was living my normal life.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
my work's even there, so I'd go into the office every day, and like I got my whole friendship group there. But Tails, the second rapper,
Mm.
is from Brizzy. That's who I used to live with, and then the other guy, B Grade, he's also from Brizzy.
Brazil,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because I think when I got a hold, like when I got onto you, and I think you were still in Brazil at that point, because you dropped I think you were doing like Friday freestyles or something like that, and you had a full white backdrop, and
When I
you
was
and the mic,
Malaysia.
yeah. And I reached out to you, and I was like, "Yo, this fucking dope, man. Can I share it?" And that's how I got a hold of you. And since then, I
Oh,
was
that's
always,
I remember that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, man. That's how I got a hold of you. And your new track, Medicine. Tell me a little bit about that, man. Sorry, Magician. Sorry, not Medicine, Magician. Sorry, bro. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that, man. And the video concept's pretty dope, man. I love how the camera pans down. I wasn't ready for that. and then it's suddenly the scene changed. But it seems like it feels like such a deep track, man. Like, where does that come from?
So my friend Scott Wings, who's a poet from Brizzy, he
Yep.
runs a thing called Ruckus Slam with some other friends of mine, and so I showed him all the new music, and Scott's like, I personally, I don't do very well with criticism from people if I don't respect what they do.
Mm-mm.
If they're like if they if it, getting criticism from people who don't make music really pisses me off, basically, to be blunt. Like if someone's never made a song and they're like, you should change this, that will like irk me to the core. But like there's certain people who I love getting their opinion, and Scott's one of them. And I showed him all my new music, and he said, "Oh man, this shit's great. I love it." But he's like, "But I already know you're capable of all this. Like, it's not. There was nothing I heard in this that I was like, oh my god, this is new. Like, I haven't heard him do this before. I didn't know he was capable of this." And that's when he was like, "Oh, I want to hear you work with more space. I want you to space out your rhymes. Don't fill every space." And then Deli Press, the guy that produced Happy is Cool, and also the next project. So the next side that Magician's coming off of is Behind the Smile. So there's like the happy and there's like the more dark stuff.
So this is your next project that's coming out?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
B side. Happy is
yeah.
Cool. So
Beautiful. Yeah.
he sent me the Magician beat, and I was like, cool. And I started writing to it with that in mind. If you listen to it, there's so much space in it. Like I'm leaving heaps of space. And I started rapping, and I always, my dad's a magician. He's the guy that stars in the video clip, like him
Oh
doing,
wow. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
that's all.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he's always been a big influence on me because he's a performer, And I started thinking, I'm a magician. My magic power is that I can turn anything into addiction. Watch me do it. So it's just sort of like talking about being an addict. Because when I was a kid, you're like, this feels good. I want to do it all the time. You know what I
Mm,
mean? It's a
mm, mm,
natural
mm.
thought
Of
process. And
course. Yeah.
no one was really like, hey man, you got to balance. It's part of life is discipline and balance. I never really got that. So when I was a kid, I smoked weed for 10 years, sex is one that I've discovered recently. I'm like, oh, this, even though it's completely natural, just like food, you can abuse it. And it's
Mm,
like, you got to keep it in check. And then, drugs, blah, blah, blah. Alcohol was a big one. Like I haven't
mm.
drank alcohol in 9 years now because
Damn.
I
Yeah.
drink liquor a lot. And anyway, so that's what the song's basically about.
Mm,
I guess it's just about being a teenager and just everyone around me was addicts, man. And like no
mm.
one really knew that. Like we didn't have the language to express it. We didn't really, yeah. Anyway, so that's pretty much the song is about. And then I want to do a video clip. I didn't know what to do with it. My mate, do you know Mr. Ruckman? You ever heard of Mr.
No,
Ruckman?
I haven't. No.
I'll have to get you onto him. He's actually
Yeah.
the feature on Be My Guest, the guy that
Okay.
raps the middle
Oh yeah,
verse.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, he was like, "Oh, you should shoot a video clip of your dad and just make it like slow motion, close up on his hands, like black and white, real beautiful movements with his hands doing cards." And then I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And I couldn't figure out. I was like, "Yeah, but who's going to shoot it?" Because my dad lives in Queensland, and I know a couple filming guys in Queensland, but no one that I thought really suited this specific project. But then it clicked with me. I got this friend. His name's Jaden Mark, and he runs this thing called Mark Media. And he's a friend of mine from school who I've known basically since I was born. Our
Yep.
parents were friends. He's got a twin brother that I'm also friends with, and we've been talking about doing something forever. And yeah, so I was like, oh, this is perfect because he's friends with dad. Like I mean, they don't hang out and shit, but he grew up around my dad. Like they've known each other forever.
Mm,
So I storyboarded the whole thing myself. Usually I don't actually storyboard it myself. So I like wrote the whole storyboard, sent it to Jaden, was like, yo, this is what I want to do. It's going to be really special. I want to make a short film about my dad and the parallels between being a magician and like an artist and how the isolation is very similar in the parallels to being a drug addict.
mm,
Um, you do this thing in a closed room all on your own, and then you go outside and it makes sense for one split second when you're around smiling people, but then you go right back to the cave, you know?
mm, mm, mm.
Yeah, so we put it out, and like, although on a technical level, like I've got other videos where I'm like, that shit's crazy, where we were going real extreme with different techniques. On a personal level, this is my favorite video clip, but
Yeah,
I think
man.
it's my
Yeah.
favorite video just because I storyboarded it. It's my dad
It's
and like
personal
my
as well, huh? Yeah.
mate Hayden, who I've known, yeah, man, like
Yeah.
since we were fucking babies, like so, yeah.
Yeah, because when I watched it, man, the first thing that came to, yeah, I felt that sense of I felt that sense of deepness, and I was like, man, I would really like to know the story behind it. You know what I mean? And like for me, man, like everything you say, you know, whether it's from the diction to just the train of thought, like there'll be days I'm sitting here and man, I'm like thinking at 100 miles per hour, you know. And so when I was watching that, I was just having all these kind of thoughts in my head. Like I was making up, I was making it up in my head as to what I, you know, what I think is going on. But I was
Yeah.
really intrigued to ask you that because it was such a, like you said, there's close-ups and you know, even though there wasn't much going on, there was a lot going on, you know,
Mhm.
like and yeah, and I just felt like I felt like this is coming from a very, very deep personal place, and that's why I was very intrigued to want to ask you what it was, what you know, what was the history behind it and how it came about. But that's a dope story. I didn't know it was your pops, and that you know that makes it even more beautiful to hear that it was your dad that you know that was in the video clip. But um, what's your thoughts on man, one of the things I really, really want to do is, I mean, just in general amongst everyone is just in terms of just even hip hop and in just terms of even just music in Australia and trying to, you know, do my part in trying to level it up to a certain place. But what's your thoughts on just the hip hop scene in Australia and just where it was, where it is now, where it's going, and you know, like what are some of the, I guess, what are some of your thoughts in terms of like how this can kind of elevate to actually, you know, it is something, but to I guess on a more commercial level for artists, like, you know, what's your kind of thoughts on the scene and what do you think we need to do to keep it progressing?
Um, I think it's doing real good. I
Mm,
mean, it's moving forward really good. It's fucking passed me by, man. I
mm,
mean, the younger generation now, like, they're so crazy. I mean, speaking of like, I mean, Brisbane, because you think of like, there was like, oh man, there's been so many movements through with like Midas Gold and
mm,
IMD and all those guys, and like around the same time, Nerve and all that were doing it, but it was almost like a different generation of
mm,
themselves. You
mm,
had like the syntax junkies when they were all real young and all that stuff, and now you got like No One Network and like, and No One Network is connected with like Wombat and Chillin' It, and they've got this almost like
mm,
nationwide thing. You got Shadow in Perth, and like
mm,
it's so insane and awesome how fucking high quality the popular rap music in Australia is right now. You got one
mm,
form, there's so many different styles. And I think one of the cool things about it is that if you think about like exports from Australia, you know, we've got actors and stuff, but actors doesn't, you know, they're acting. So it shows like fictional characters. It doesn't really show like what it's like over here.
mm,
And and then you got like sports, but people are more sports isn't as much a style of expression in the sense that music is. Like, you know, sports players not really showing a light into their world. They're showing their sport. So with hip hop, because it's so much about authenticity and really showing about who you are, if Australian hip hop gets big enough, it might be one of like, and correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe there's like another export I'm not really thinking about, but it could be one of the first big exports that sort of actually gives people a light into Australia realistically and not just as
mm,
a stereotype, which is kind of
mm,
interesting. So,
mm,
because right now, like we know, we've got like an idea about England, you know what I mean?
mm.
Got like ideas about a lot of countries, but Australia, when people don't know about something, they just know the stereotype. So, like when I was young, you'd rap, people would be like, Australians rap? That's
Mm,
weird. I didn't know
mm.
Australians rap. And now, people probably assume Australians rap because everybody raps. Like hip hop is everywhere. So I think the assumption would be
Yeah, I mean,
people.
if you're doing world tours and you're landing in Australia and you got big crowds, you would think that that's going to rub off, right? It's going to rub off and you know, obviously people are going to be listening to hip hop music, which means people are going to want to do hip hop music as well. So,
But at the same time, so it's sort of like, I guess my question is, because I think it's inevitable. I think
mm,
inevitably
mm,
there will be Australian rappers that go onto the world stage eventually. And some already have, like say
mm,
Kid Leroy, for example. You
mm.
know, you've been
Yeah,
following that?
yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, he's obviously really blown up. It is a certain style of hip hop that's like, and it's not to downplay it because actually I don't listen to his music much, but I think that kid is incredibly talented. I think he's
Mm,
really talented, but it's kind of his style is a lot more like pop, sort of leaning towards pop stuff,
mm,
a bit more emulation of American style rap. So it's not quite what I'm talking about. And I'll be curious to see when someone gets on a world stage as big as the world stage he's on right now, except someone like 1-4, for example. Like 1-4 is really showing like a glimpse into their world, you know,
mm,
Mount
mm,
Druitt. Like, I
mm,
didn't know anything about Mount Druitt. I didn't even
mm,
know that was a place. And you watch
mm,
these videos and it's like, this
mm.
is our world. And you're like, oh, okay. So I'll be curious when, even though obviously like 1-4 is actually probably the closest yet that it's getting on quite a,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
there's, I mean, it's Hilltop Hoods, which have, you know,
Mm,
done really well internationally, but still not quite like household name or anything, I
mm,
imagine. I could be
mm.
wrong about that, but from what I know. But I'll be curious, yeah, when something gets that big that, yeah, like, because England's doing it, you know what I mean? Like the grime singing in England seems to have really crossed over that. You know, you got
Mm,
like Skepta and stuff hanging out with Drake and Kanye
mm,
West, and
mm, 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 mm,
it seems
mm,
to have really crossed over. I'll be very curious to see who it is that crosses over to America. And
mm. I think
yeah,
Drake brought a lot of exposure. I mean, I'm sure there's other artists way before him, and there probably was. But like, I got a cousin, and she's born and bred in London. So when I go over, like, she really shows me the grime scene, and
yeah,
talks about it. And but I think Drake showing a lot of love really exposed it. But like, it was almost like they just let us know what was always there, you know what I mean? But it's just more of a
yeah,
world stage now, and it's just, I know
yeah,
people that in Melbourne, like one of my closest cousins who lives in Melbourne, loves the grime scene, and
yeah,
he loves that shit. And so, like, I just think, yeah, like you said, exposure. And I also think like the platform's different now, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can go on Spotify and listen to your whole album. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and things like that. And so just the avenue and the channeling your music and being able to reach people now. Like, just fucking think of like a mobile phone now, bro. Like, we could just talk to someone in another country right now if we wanted to. Like, so I think music is the same thing. Like, now with all these different platforms and streaming services, it allows your music to kind of go more global as well, and allow people overseas and international to listen to what's pretty much going down here as well. So I think it can only go on the up, and because of the new, kind of the new wave of technology and how music is being heard now by everybody as well. So I just think it can only be on the up, as opposed to before, where it was maybe in the local scene, what's going on, but outside of that is very hard. You know what I mean? In terms of the exposure going out. But I think, yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement. I think it can only get better from here. And people are crazy, man. Human beings are crazy. And even new kids, new generations coming through, they'll always find new ways. You know what I mean? Like even 1-4 with the whole, drill scene, like, and I think it was in Chi-Town, and even in some other places where it's really big. It's just, it just, like, I watched a lot of interviews from overseas, like people in England and etc., talking about 1-4, and you know what I mean, and saying, hey, like, it's pretty cool for the scene in Australia and stuff. So I think just we're more connected now globally than probably a long time ago, and especially Australia now as well. I find that it's a destination for a lot of artists and etc. as well. In terms of coming and performing here and connecting with the fans and etc. as well. So, but yeah, it's pretty dope, man. I think it's pretty dope. But um, what's your what's kind of next for you, man? Like, I know you're saying you got like a B-side kind of to Happy is Cool. Um, did you like what was performing like for you, man? Like, what was performing like the first time you kind of got on stage and then, and started performing? What was that like for you? Just the whole vibe and putting yourself out there. Because, being in the room and making music is one thing, then being in front of a whole crowd and actually performing is something else, right? So,
yeah. I like. I mean, I used to rap wherever I could,
mm.
bus stops, house parties, corners, like wherever there was a person. I'd be on a date. I'd be like, "You want to hear a rap?" Like, I had any person with a rap when I was younger, and I still like showing people my raps, but I'm a bit more chill about it. But
Yeah.
performing, when I was younger, it was very much about me being the cool guy on stage, and now it's much more about like how much can I entertain people? Like I'm an
Mm,
entertainer. I enjoy
mm,
entertaining people. But then at the same time, I think about it because as a rapper, people want to see the cool guy on stage. So maybe it's
mm,
incorporate a little bit of both, that you should feel cool and feel empowered and stuff when you're on stage. But fuck, the first time I got on stage, I'm trying to think. Like, I'm trying to think of like the first time I did a show that was like rocking. You know what I mean? Because
Mm,
I did a bunch of empty shows.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've done insane amounts of terrible shows. But I remember when I was younger, something I really miss now that I'm older and everyone's, got kids and shit and like got better things to do. But when we were younger, someone would be putting on a show and the whole crowd would be my mates. And every act would be my mates. And we would all know each other's lyrics and it would just be the hypest shit ever. Like I remember my friend Sam used to have shows in his garage and the stage was a mattress that had spray painted on it. This is a stage. The whole wall was covered in his parents' license plates that they collected after traveling. So there was like an entire side of this garage was just license plates, and then you had this mattress that said this is a stage. Then you just picture like 20 people in a garage. So like it's a small crowd, but in a garage. It's a fucking man. It was like hype. And we would prepare for that show like it was the biggest show ever. Me and my brother would get there. Everyone would know the lyrics. It was the fucking best. And then now yeah, it's just everything changes, you know what I mean? It's like the crowds are still really good, but there was something about it back then, like, man, it was so pure. It was so epically passionate. Like people were ready to like crowd surf in like a room of 10 people.
Mm,
Like
mm,
it was
mm, mm,
so
mm, mm,
crazy.
mm.
Yeah, I think I've changed a lot over the years as well now, though. Like, I go to the shows when I'm prepping for a show. I remember I used to do a show the whole day before the show. I would feel like a fucking rock star, no
Yeah,
matter
yeah,
what. Like, I had a
yeah,
little secret. I'd be buying some soup at the fucking shopping center, and I'd be thinking, they have no idea what I'm doing tonight.
yeah.
You got no idea. I'm gonna perform in front of 20 friends tonight, and they're gonna yell my name and blah blah blah. Like, I felt so good, and now it's much more about the crowd. So when I prepare, I'm like trying to get fit, trying to get a lot of sleep. It's like training for, you're into your MMA. It feels like a fight. It's like I'm
Yeah,
about to do
yeah.
an hour of rapping, which is physically very
Yeah,
difficult.
yeah,
I'm
yeah. Well,
getting cooked.
I'm an amateur boxer, man. I actually got a fight in 3 weeks. I'm preparing for. So yeah, so I know exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Obviously, there would be a difference in the sense that, like,
yeah,
combat sports, I can only imagine what that would be
yeah,
like.
yeah.
That, like, well, you think about this, okay, like, let's try to find a parallel. So, there has been times where I have bombed on stage, and it is the worst feeling
Hundred
ever. You
percent.
feel underprepared. You're the only one that's to blame. No one else did this to you. You fucked up, and it feels like a fucking nightmare. It feels like getting on stage in a dream and forgetting your lyrics or something. It's the worst feeling. And I feel like similar, and I maybe that's why I love combat sports, is that like I think we get away from people try to swerve away culturally these days in many circles from responsibility. And
Mm,
in combat sports, no matter what happens, it's on you, dude.
mm, mm,
It's you and you're fighting this guy.
mm,
There's nothing, I mean, I'm sure there's some like outside things. Maybe the judges judged it differently, but in the
mm,
sense of how much you're going to get injured or how much
mm,
you're going to injure that person, it's just like no one else is in there with you.
mm,
And I like
mm,
that. And I feel similar to music. If I bomb, man, who am I going to blame? You know what I
mm,
mean? Who is there?
mm,
It's me.
mm.
So anyway, sorry, I went on a bit of a rant there, but I
No,
guess like,
no, but I think it's also like it's hard to explain that to people sometimes because it's not till you do it you realize that that's all part of the journey. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna you're not gonna get to happy is cool without all that shit. You know what I mean? Without all those journeys, man. So
yeah.
yeah, and then there's and then there's that sense of fear because it's like people want to know beforehand what it's going to feel like before doing it, and you're never
Mm.
going to know. You're never going to know, so until you go through it and experience it for yourself, and then you realize that what your mind, your body, your soul, your spirituality, whatever you go through, and how that transforms from that experience. And then that's how and it's always a repetitive thing that I say, but it's like trying to get through door number 10. You can't get through door number 10 till till you go through door number 2, door number 3, and when you go through door number 2, then you'll figure out how to get to door number 3, you know. And if you try to think about how am I going to get to that end goal from the beginning, it's going to fucking scare you, you know what I mean? It's going to be like, yeah, fuck this bullshit, I don't want to go through any of this, you know.
You
Yeah,
got to enjoy the journey, or else
yeah,
you
that's
won't.
it, man. Yeah, and I always tell people like,
It's the destination. I mean,
yeah, I never remember. I always say I never remember my fights as much as I remember what it took me to get to the ring and everything in between. That's what always stands out for me. You know, just the hours in the gym every day, the days you don't want to fucking go into the gym. You know, it's like you're dragging yourself in there. Those are the days I remember, but because those are the days that end up being the reason you end up doing whatever you do. You know, having those memorable moments in your life, you know what I mean, that no one can take away from you, but that's the shit that no one sees, you know. And so, you know, they only really see the result. They never see the work put in, you know. You know, and that's with anything, man. That's not just combat sports, that's with anything in life, you know. People will see the result and be like, oh, you know, and then they will try to find a reason as to why you got it good, but you know what I mean. But it's like, dude, you put in the work, you know. And so you know, the success is a result of that, you know. And I always say, like, consistency breeds success. You know, if you're consistent at something, bro, you're going to get the results, you know what I mean. But then it's also perspective. How do you look at it? You grow, you know. So it's like, okay, what am I really doing this for, you know? And I think purpose is one of the most biggest qualities and reasoning anyone, I think, can have, like, you know. And when it comes to you, like, what kind of drives you, man, with the music? I know, you know, outside of the love for it, and obviously we kind of touched on what got you into it in the first, but like, what kind of drives you to kind of want to keep going, keep making music, in terms of inspiration, in terms of like what keeps you motivated and keeps you driven, man, to keep doing what you're doing?
I want to I mean, I I love rap music. I love it so much. And when I was younger, I wanted to be famous. And now that I'm older, I just want to make the best hip hop music I can
Mm,
possibly make. Like, I listen to, like Good Kid, Mad City, by
mm,
Kendrick Lamar.
mm,
Like, these are
mm,
like masterpieces. And
mm,
I mean, I'm being kind of pessimistic now, but I don't think I'm ever going to reach that level. And that just
mm,
is what it is. I don't
mm,
think I'm willing to sacrifice the amount that it takes to get there. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, comparison is the thief of joy. So I won't go
mm,
to it comparing myself to others, but
mm,
I just want to make the best music possible. I want to make something that I just, yeah, I mean, I've been making it recently. Like, all the music I've made up till now is like, I like it. It's cool. I'm working with this new producer at the moment with some unreleased stuff with this guy called Mike Benz, and it's like the best things I've ever made. It's like I'm making this music at the moment where I'm like, I could stop rapping after this, put this on vinyl, and just be like, this is me. Yeah, so it's crazy because I'm like motivated by getting there, and I'm actually like currently like at that place where I'm like,
mm,
whoa. So then I guess the next step is like, I'd love to produce my own music.
mm,
It's kind of, it's like what motivates you. I think the best thing anyone can ever have is like a passion for curiosity and like learn.
mm,
So that's if I really think about like motivation, I think about mental health because I'm fucked up. So if I don't clean my room in the morning, I'm fucked. If I don't get up and drink water all the time, I'm fucked. If I don't make hip hop music, I'm fucked. All of this stuff is like habitual maintenance
mm.
for me to like be a happy person.
100%. I can understand that, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, it's trying to hard like thinking of like what is motivation, and it sounds dramatic, but in like the cases of a lot of things, for me personally, it's a bit of a do or die. There's been moments where I'm like, if I'm not doing it, I'm killing myself. Like
Yeah.
that's just what it is. You wake up every morning on a spinning rock, flying through outer space. You know you're gonna die one day, and no one tells you why you're here. You gotta fucking do something.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna fucking fall into the abyss of like nihilism and just like existential crisis. I don't know. So I'm
Yeah.
getting way off subject, but
No,
basically
no,
it's
no.
a
I mean, bro, I
and
love
also
art.
make the best
Yeah.
rap music I can possibly make. Like,
Yeah.
I love music. So
Nah, but I can respect that, man. I mean, that's the whole idea. Like, even with like my podcast and even with everything that I'm doing, not just the podcast, but like I've been wanting to work on like short docos on certain subject matters and things like that, and and the same thing, man. It came through. Everything came through the kind of the same avenue. Like even with me training, like I've been doing it for like I've been doing kickboxing and boxing for like 12 years now, you know, and I don't see myself ever stopping competing. Yes, like I'll stop competing at some point, but because it's my engine, it's my, like you said, that the habitual, you know, the habitual thing that you need to keep for your mental health. Like you know, I found combat sports from a really dark place. So I know what it did for me. So like even like I have a lot of athletes and professional athletes that come on my podcast and stuff. And half of it is because I got to meet this community and make these relationships with people. And I see how much they're fucking going through, how much they're flogging themselves. Because I've been in you know, I've been in the trenches with them, I've trained with them, you know, and I know what they're going through. And for me, I'm not doing it for medals and belts and for a living. You know, I'm doing it purely because I love to put myself in that situation where I'm competing and I want to, you know, bring out the best version of myself, you know, and that's what it allows me to do. But if I don't train, if I don't do that, then I feel like I'm breaking myself, you know. So when you said that, I could completely understand that, you know, like 100%. I can understand where that's coming from, you know, and then, you know, even with everything that I'm doing now, it came off the back of just being broken. And I always tell people like I've been in the ring, I've been in hard sparring sessions, and you know, I've been in fights, and no one's broken me, but life has broken me, you know. And then I realized I learned to respect life more than anything in this world. And when life broke me, that's when, you know, like literally, man, it's been about 2 years now. But since I kind of started doing what I'm trying to build, I wouldn't say it's like a like Vice and Lad Bible, but it's like an entertainment program similar to what, you know, like Diddy's got with Revolt TV, and you know, kind of like the mix of all of that. That's what I've always wanted to do. Like every morning since I was probably 18, 19 years old, the first thing I do, whether I'm at work or whatever, the first thing I do is grab my coffee and I just read up on hip hop shit, like what's going on in the world, what music's out and everything. And to this day, the moment I'm talking to you, it's the first, I've never stopped. And then, you know, and you know, more than probably many, that you can have all these crazy thoughts, you can have all these crazy feelings, but if you don't have the environment that allows you to kind of let it flow through, and it becomes a negative thing, then it impacts everything, and your output and what you see in life and your perspective becomes it becomes, you know, it puts you in that state of mind as well, you know.
Mm.
So for me, that was the hardest battle. Like that hard, like, came from like, man, I got all these feelings and, you know, this thing in my gut, in the stomach, telling me this is what I should be doing, but it's like fucking no one understands, you know. So it's like, am I fucking too crazy to think that, you know, to think that I can do what I'm trying to do, you know? Am I too crazy to even think like that? So that in itself is a battle till you kind of switch it on. And that's why, like, I took a year and a half off work, you know, and just kind of like went into the biz, man. Like, you know, I fucking just disappeared and just focused on building this foundation. And then, you know, you come out on the other side, and here I am fucking talking to you, and you know what I mean? And it's you know, and now I look back and I think, man, that was some of the hardest times. Like, I literally pulled the plug on comfort. I pulled the plug on everything, you know, on everything that I knew, to work on something that I don't know what the result's going to be. You know what I mean? But I know that I fucking want to do it, and I know that this is what I got to give, you know, to the world. And that's how I look at what I'm doing now. You know, this is my gift to the world, but this is my legacy. You know, and yeah, man, like, and that's why I like, you know, that's why I call the podcast Into the Deep, because I was like, you know, that's kind of the level that I love thinking at and talking to people. Like, even when I have fighters on, I never talk to them about the people they fought or the people they're fighting. We may touch on it, but I always like to dive into the mechanics of how they think, And each person is different. Each person is built differently, and you know what drives them and what makes them get up every morning, and that's what fascinates me, because that's what I got to learn about myself and the people that I got to meet around this journey. Is that and you know, the life so far is that everyone's just got this thing about it, man, that just makes them who they are. And that fascinates me, you know. That just it's just it's you can learn so much from it, and more than anything, man, someone's going to be listening to you. Like I know kids from my community, you know, like and from the South Asian community that fucking love rap, man, you know. But
Yeah.
because of their perspective, and because of, you know, society's perception of who they are, especially for me, when I first, like, there's not many people in Sydney, let alone people from my community, that even do combat sports. So when these young kids see me doing it and whatnot, they're like, man, like, I could see the inspiration in their face. Like they come up to me, and you know, I had one kid who does kickboxing now, and he was like, "Man, I don't know many people that do this other than you know," and that really inspired me. And even when I go, you know, sparring sessions, and I always talk about it, some of the fighters, like when people don't know you, they have this preconceived idea based on who you are, and it's not their fault. It's just subconsciously that's what they're thinking, because society has built them and programmed them to think a certain way of, you know, who you are and where you come from, and you know, and the community that you belong to, that they have a sense of, you know. And that drives me, that drives me, because then you get in there and you spar, and you're thinking, you're like, man, these motherfuckers are tough, like they don't let up, and I you know, I get a kick out of that, you know. So like you, man, I just kind of weird off a little bit, but yeah, but yeah, no, like I respect, like it's a big part of it, you know, and I think it's important to kind of to really understand. It's important to really understand how, you know, what makes someone really think the way they think, because I think there's so many people, you know, and like I said, like people will be listening to this and hearing what you're saying, and they'll be like, fuck, man, that's how I feel. And I think that's half the problem, is that you'll find that people feel the same way, or going through the same things, but with the lack of communication, or the lack of being able to put yourself out there to talk to them, bro, they think they're alone, you know. But I always tell people, when you talk to certain people and you really open up, you realize, damn, I'm not the only one going through this, or I feel what this person's going through, you know. And then, you know, and then fuck, man, they find the courage or the heart to go and do what they're doing, because they're like, I'm not the only one going through this. But that's the problem, right? We fucking box everyone into a certain way, or certain people don't have the courage to really speak about it. And then you know, you realize it's not just you, it's other people that are limiting themselves from doing things as well.
Yeah, I don't think people really understand how powerful judgment is, and that you got to be less judgment for the good and the bad. Like, you know, like all sides of any moment is just people trying to fucking figure their shit out. With what you were saying before, like my therapist used to laugh at me because I'd be like crying about some shit, and he'd be like, you straight guys are so funny. He's like this gay guy from South Africa. He's like, you straight guys are so funny because you come in here every day and you cry about the same things, but culturally you're not meant to speak to each other about it, but you're all like next to each other all day. And he's like, you're all the same, but you feel so alone. It's so weird. Yeah. I got a question about your fighting.
Yeah.
So I saw a show years ago. It was a Japanese show, I think. They always have the weirdest game shows.
Yeah.
Dudes, there's rooms, right? And in these rooms, there's beds with spikes on them, like beds of nails, right? You lay on the bed of nails in your room. There's multiple people in these rooms. The competition is who can stay on the bed of nails for the longest, but you don't know when the other person is left.
Shit.
So you've just got to kind of
What kind of fucking show is this? Yeah.
A horrible show. I'm questioning if you can relate to this in a strange way, because I was thinking with what you were saying before. I imagine if I was training for a fight, I'd just be thinking, no matter what I do, I got to train harder than the other guy. But like the bed of nails, I can't see the other guy. So I got to lay on that bed of nails for as long as I can fucking do it. And even after that, I want to get off that bed of nails. I got to keep going, because what if the other guy's better? Can you relate to that in a strange way, that you're kind of training against this other guy, but you don't get to see what he's 100%. Doing? So you've got to push yourself harder than you can possibly even imagine ever pushing 100%. Yourself, and hope the other guy isn't, because yeah, I never thought about fighting how it's like it's almost like it's competitive training, because the
Yeah, yeah,
fight, but the fight's going to be so much dictated by like how good is your trainer and how good are
yeah.
you at like really going for it.
Yeah, like I mean, like my last fight, so I'm like 2-2. I had two kickboxing fights, two boxing fights, and I'm 2-2. And my last fight, I came off a layoff because, like I said, I went away to kind of work on my Mercer, like the brand Mercer Entertainment, and kind of build it to what I wanted to be. So, like anything, like I was saying, consistency breeds success. So, um, like coming off a layoff, it was a long slog because I, put on weight and things like that. And prior to that, I was my last fight. I was in such a good place. I stopped the guy in the second round. I was over the moon, and it was the first time I got introduced to a lot of like, I wouldn't say spiritual awakening, but like I really learned like how to unlock my mind. And I had a professional boxer that was a good mate of mine that took me under his wing, and he kind of like introduced me to this thing called Qigong, which is this level of like meditation and breathing and kind of like allowing the blood to flow through your body. And it's a whole bunch of movements and things like that that you do over a period, and you learn how to breathe your anxiety down and things like that. And it's the first time I'd got introduced to something like that. I never realized how much I needed it, but it was something that just woke me up. But yeah, going back to what you're saying, like that's half the battle, man. And that's why I think half the battle is just the mind games, especially when you're just like you're eating clean and you're living that lifestyle, and like you were saying, you're very to yourself. I'm very to myself, as I think is a lot of fighters, is that you're into your own thoughts of what you're thinking every day, and how you feel every day is just as important as turning up to the gym and training. Because if you don't have that, if you don't have the right state of mind, then you're already defeated before the fight even starts. But that's where there's a lot of things. Like it's funny, on Wednesday we were sparring, and then straight after sparring we were doing this conditioning work, and we had the resistant, like the resistant band.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that, yeah, so oh,
right here.
fucking head, yeah. So we oh yeah. So we had it over your partner puts it over you and pulls it, and you're fucking trying to sprint to the other end of the gym, and they're pulling you back, right? And you get to the other end, and then you drop the resistant bands, they pull the kick shield up, and then you just power punches all the way back to the other end of the thing. And we're doing it for 2 minutes, 2 rounds. And this is straight after like 10 rounds of fucking sparring. And I hear my coach going, your opponent's not doing this. Your opponent's not doing this. And the reason I'm laughing, you say this, because for all you know, he could be fucking doing it. You know what I mean? And for all you know, he could be going harder than you are. You know what I
The
mean?
mindset that he's
But
not
that's it,
though.
bro. That's it. You convince yourself that this motherfucker is not even training at the level that you are. But I think, like, I remember when I did this, when I had my 2 fights ago, when I stopped that guy in the second round, even before the fight started, even 2 weeks out, I remember coming home, and I told my wife, and I told my cousin. There was only 2 people, and I said, "Man, I'm gonna stop this dude. I don't know what round, but I'm gonna stop this dude." And it wasn't cockiness. It was confidence. And where the confidence came from was when I really, like, they call it the yin and the yang, and that's something that I got taught, is that we do so much output, but we don't do enough input. And output meaning is just, everything is just fucking training hard, exert. But then what are we doing to feed our soul, feed our mind, feed our body? And I'm not talking from a real sense in terms of food, but I'm talking about, like, fatigue it can be like, if you're tired and you're fatigued, then your thoughts will represent that, and then you start to think, oh, am I training hard enough? I should be doing extra work. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. Could I be training harder? And that could be a negative impact too. And so when I did this whole process where I got to really stretch out my body, really focus on my breathing, really focus on my mind, and right at the end, man, you're just meditating, and the dude's just, you got your eyes closed, and like for 5 minutes you're meditating, and he starts playing the didgeridoo, and you just fuck, bro, you're off to another planet. You know what I mean? Like, and I always say it's like I felt like I was levitating on air, and it was the closest thing that made me feel like when I fucking experienced LSD for the first time. You know what I mean? Like it was the closest thing that took me naturally to that level of levitation. I was like floating in air. I was like, man. And I remember I opened my eyes and I looked at my mate and I just smiled at him. And in my head, I was just like, man, like I'm ready, like it's on, you know. And at that point, I think I manifested at that point, like this is what I'm gonna do. And it wasn't so much that, oh, you know, like anyone, you know, when they're training hard, they're like, yeah, man, I'm ready, I'm ready. It was just a sense of, I realized, man, you have been putting the work in. You have been training hard. And sometimes you got to smell the roses, and we forget to smell the roses along the way, you know, and because we're so focused on the output, we don't realize the input. So the input is just as much as important, you know, having time for yourself, stretching your body out, focusing on your breathing, relaxing, and then you realize, you're like, damn, what am I tripping out about? You know what I mean? Like I fucking turn up to training, I put in work, I know, you know, and that's that battle, man. That mental battle is just so important, like in how you keep yourself focused. And so yeah, like going back to your question about the beds and the pins, like yeah, man, you don't know how hard that guy's training, you know. um you can go and find them online, you can go and see, yeah, this is their record and whatever. But if you slouch a person on a person that is probably might have their worst performance, will still make you look mediocre, because you didn't come in with that right, you didn't come in with that respect, you didn't come in with that state of mind, like, dude, this guy will fuck me up if I don't respect him, you know.
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
got to, but it's that eye against eye battle, man. It's, you know, and that's what I always say, it's the eye against eye. That person's a face, a shape, and body size and whatever, but ultimately the whole battle is between you, like you and you know, you waking up every morning, you staying motivated, even when you have those bad sessions, going and saying, you know what, I didn't have my best session, but you're ready to get up and go again, you know. Nothing is smooth sailing, you know, like anything. And you know, like that's with music and anything, like it's just nothing is smooth sailing. But yeah, 100%, man. Like that is in itself, like my last fight, like because I came from such a big layoff, man, I dropped like 10 kilos because I took a year and a half training, work, I didn't do nothing. And you know, and I wasn't really, my focus really wasn't on the motive, like you know, I wasn't really motivated with the fitness side of things, because all I was focusing on was trying to build this platform, and how I was going to go about it, and what's my plans and all that. So the come fight night, I felt good. And then the first round went, and this dude was fucking much bigger than me too, which was a surprise. But I hit the brick wall. And when he kind of went to a second and third gear, I wanted to meet him there. I know I can go there, but man, my body wouldn't allow me to go there. And so he never knocked me out or anything. He went to 3 rounds, he went to decision, but I just couldn't get off that next gear. And man, I remember I was sitting in the I couldn't have my family there, and I couldn't have anyone to come watch me there, because it's just fucking shit promoter. Anyway, it was selling like $200 fucking tickets. I'm not gonna make people pay that kind of money, but
What, your family couldn't, you didn't get a +1 for your family to come watch you
nah,
fight?
because yeah, I don't know, bro. It's just this one show. I don't know what the fuck it was, bro. I like from the
COVID
moment,
restrictions,
yeah,
maybe?
like the dude was selling like table tickets and stuff, and I was like, he didn't like, normally at shows, man, you have general area tickets, seating tickets, table tickets, ringside tickets.
Yeah,
This dude
yeah.
was just, yeah. And then on the day I rock up, bro, I find out that he was selling general access tickets, but he never told anybody leading up to the fight that you know, you could go and sell this. So, but I knew he was dodgy from the start. So all my fights I've had like family and friends and all that. So I was kind of like really alone. Like, not that it affected anything, like it didn't really impact how I fought or how I prepared myself that day. It was more the layoff. But that's why I tell people, you can't, that's why as soon as yeah, so when I went to the back, I knew my wife was at home fucking just waiting, like, to hear, you know. So I video called her and I was like, you know, I didn't win, whatever, but I'm okay. Like, I'm okay. I didn't take damage or anything. I'm good. But I said, you know what? I was like, there was a fire in the belly, you know, like I was just so fucking that moment. I had a moment where I was in the locker room, and because we had like 5 of us fighting that day from the same gym, the next fight already happened. So no one was in there. It was just fucking me. And it was just, you know, I was there sitting to my thoughts, and I was thinking, you know what, I've been away from this, but now I remember the feeling, the being in the locker room, the crowd, the environment, the ring presence, the pace, everything, you know. And it's just I was so motivated after that. Like I haven't been this motivated since, I don't know, like, man, probably like, a couple of fights ago. And I remember walking out and I was disappointed. I was hurt because, like, I wanted it not just for myself, but there's people from my community that look at me, and and I feel like I represent them, and I just felt like I let a lot of people down. And then when I was walking out, I ran into my coach in the front, and I said to him, I explained to him, like, man, I just couldn't fucking get to that. I felt like I needed a week off leading into that fight, just for like a mental rest, because it had been like since October of the year before. So it had been like since September last year that I was on this journey losing my weight. And when you focus too much on losing weight, it can mentally tire you out as well. Whereas now, because I have a quick turnaround, weight's not a problem. Everything's just about skill. And even lately in the gym, like my coach has been saying, man, the energy that you're on is just like, compared to fight night, it's not even like, you're just a whole nother level. But it's because that weight's not on my back, like that in my head, where I'm like, oh, I gotta fucking lose weight. But I remember walking out and I told him, I said, man, I'm ready to go. Like, figure out when the next fight is, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever, put my name down. And that's it. And I just went home. I got back into the gym like 2 days after. But then, like, that end of that week, I just put myself on forced arrest. 3 days, I was like, go fucking eat what you want, go have some fun, and then reset your mind. And ever since then, man, I've just, I've been feeling so good. But
So this guy's in trouble, eh?
like, yeah, bro, like everyone, bro, everyone from the gym to like even at home, they could just tell,
You're
like,
watching
my,
this
yeah,
right now. Like,
yeah,
you
like,
better, unless he's sitting there going, that's cool because I feel the same. It's like,
yeah,
unless he can
yeah,
relate to what you're saying right now,
yeah,
he's fine.
yeah. I was hurt more than anything, because I knew how good I could be, but I just couldn't be that version of myself. And but there was many reasons. That's why I tell people, especially in this sport, especially with this amateur boxing and whatever it is, you can't just keep walking away and coming back. You have to be consistent. So I set a goal to be really consistent. Like, I'm fucking, in my mindset, I'm ready to have a fight once a month, and that's kind of my mindset going in now, is just, that's what I want to do. But I'm already reaping the rewards of that consistency of going back into the gym after fighting, instead of having a long layoff or anything like that. Just reaping the rewards of your body, and that's what, and that's the thing, man. I could have easily sat there and thought about it completely the opposite, say fuck this shit now, fuck this. It's like an emotional roller coaster, and I was like, fuck this bullshit. Why am I putting myself through this? I'm not doing this for money. I'm not doing this for anything, but it was a complete opposite. If anything, it really hurt me so much that it reinvigorated me to be like, man, like, you know what I mean? Get back. I got shit to do, like, I'm not done yet, kind of thing. So, yeah, man, it's just, it's an emotion. It's like that, man, like anything. It's just, I always tell people, like, even guys that have fought for the first time, like, man, get ready for it, man. Some days you're going to feel like, fuck this shit. Some days you're going to feel like a king, you know what I mean? And
That's
it's just,
life, it's
yeah,
like
that's, yeah,
it emulates life. And that's why it's so, like, when you hear about people being like, oh, participation ribbons, everyone's
yeah,
a winner. It's like, nah, dude, that's
no,
not how life works.
no,
And
man. Yeah.
it's crazy that people sway away from the promotion of how valuable a loss is. Like, it's
Mm,
so valuable. It's like the reason, if I get up, right, if someone's getting me up to do one verse for a show, just one verse, small crowd, barely anyone there, I will fucking work all week, all month. I will be like, I'm gonna fucking do my best at that thing. And the reason is because, not because I'm running towards the glory of it, it's because I'm running away from that fucking feeling that I'll never forget when I was underprepared for something,
mm,
and knowing that it was my fault,
mm.
knowing that no one did that but me. And that the idea now, it's like, oh, you participated. It's like, nah, dude, if you fail at life, you die. Like, that's
Yeah,
how life is.
yeah,
Life is like a
100%.
fight. And it's interesting, like what you were saying before, with like, you can't half-ass it. It's like,
Yeah.
you ever listen to Joe Rogan? You ever
Yeah,
listen to this
yeah,
guy?
yeah, bro. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's always interesting. I find the parallels between fighting and comedy, because they're
Mm,
very similar in the sense that, like, in a fight, you either win or lose, and
mm,
in comedy, you either get the laugh or you don't. It's very
mm,
like cut and dry, which is what
mm,
life is like. It's like,
mm.
you're gonna make it or you're gonna not,
Yeah,
and
like they,
you got
yeah,
to take the losses, because the
yeah,
losses almost more important than the wins. It seems
Yeah,
like anyone
100%.
successful will say that. It's very consistent.
Well, like basically like everything that I've been doing, like, you know, like so basically what I'm trying to do is create a plat, like, you know, ultimately, like, I want to stay away from the camera. I want to produce content, but like I've branched off. Like, I started this series called Inside the Trenches, where it's similar to like UFC Embedded, where you kind of dive into the athletes leading up to their fights and talk to their coaches and things like that. And then I want to kind of get into the hospitality space and the music space and things like that. But ultimately, like, there's been days, man, where I want to fucking throw this computer out this window because shit's not working or whatever, right? And I'm trying to build, you know. And I always, yeah, like, you know, and I always tell people that the mythology and the lessons that I'm using for everything that I'm doing now is what fighting taught me. You know,
Mm.
like I tell people, anyone can throw a fucking jab, anyone can throw a cross. Throw a jab every day for 7 days a week to 2 weeks to 4 weeks to 6 months to 1 year to 5 years to 10 years, and then you're gonna filter out the ones, that are, you know, the casuals that come and do it and then think they're whatever, and then the ones that have been in the game and realize, fuck, there's 100 different ways to throw a jab and how good you can throw a jab, and then how to place it, how to do it, you know, and diving into the whole kind of, you know, aspect of how you can use it and how you can place it. So, you know, and I realized that even when I switched from kickboxing to boxing, that was a massive change. Like the speed, everything was just so different. And I remember my first sparring sessions, came home, bro. I got fucking pumped. I got pumped by these boxes because kickboxing is a very different, because you've got so much more to worry about. Like, you got kicks and all these, so the pace is a bit different. Whereas boxing is just hands, head movement. So it's just like everything's just fucking 100 kilometers per hour. And I remember sitting in front of the mirror and I was just like to my thoughts, and I was like, all right, motherfucker, you're going to have to really want this, because if you don't want this, you're going to keep getting lit up, you know? And that fight is the one in 3 months later that ended up stopping the dude, right? But I remember in January of that, April was the fight. In January, I was getting my ass fucking lit up. But what it always taught me was just turn up to the fucking gym and put in the work, and the results will come. And so that same mindset is what I use with what I'm doing now. There's going to be shit days. There's going to be days where people say no to you. There's people that I've reached out to, you know, that have said no. Then there's people that I've reached out to like you that have said yes. And so it is what it is. Like, but if you keep putting in the work and the consistency, it's going to fucking pay off. And so that's what I always remember, is the word consistency. I just remember, no matter what, there's going to be days where nothing goes for you, but always in your head, you know. And that's where the way you think and how you feel is so important, because it's like, even through those days, if you turn around and say, you know what, man, I'm going to fucking find a way, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And I'll get a way to, you know, I'll find a way to get there. The days the way things aren't working for you are the days that it will work for you. And that's why I tell people in the gym, like, the days you can't drag your ass into the gym are the days you should drag your ass into the gym, because
Yeah,
that's the day
absolutely.
your body, your mind, your soul, your spirituality is going to go through this transformation where you program yourself to think, you know what, I'm having a fucking shit day, but you know what, I'm going to find a different way to think of, and have a perspective of what my day's being like, or this situation in particular, you
That's
know. And
the fight.
that's
It's like the day that it's like, if you don't have a day that you don't want to get out of bed,
mm,
then how are you going to know how it's going to feel? Like, if you don't have a day where you don't want to get out of bed and you force yourself to, then you're only shadow boxing.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like, you got to fight that person in the ring, and that person's going to punch you back, and you're not going to want to keep fighting.
yeah,
If you don't
exactly.
have those days, like, what are you even working with if
With
everything comes easy? Because once you get in there, it's not going to be like,
Yeah, and that's why I
yeah.
tell people, I'm like, anything. What it taught me was, anything you really, really want in life is going to be fucking hard. If you really, really want it, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to just be handed to you. And I've programmed myself to think that okay, I want this so bad. This is what's going to make me really feel like I'm I'm exerting my full potential and I'm the best version of myself. But I've also realized, in order to have that, shit is not going to be easy. So that's with anything now. If I really, really want it, I know that there's going to be some hurdles to get there, but that's just part of the process. You know what I mean? That's just how it's going to be. And, and I think that's the difference between people. But I'm fucking blessed because, like I said, I found this sport coming from a place where you know, I was just so chaotic, and it's just, you know, I'm a thinker. Like I got 100 million thoughts in my head at fucking one time. And it's like when I don't know how to control it, my whole body just fucking, you know, my mind state changes and it just breaks. Whereas when I started competing or when I started training, what it does was like, it brought all these things that were scattered everywhere and it just slowed it down and just focused. And it was like, okay, I have all these issues and I have all these problems and I have all these hurdles, but I've slowed it down to a point that I know, okay, one at a time, how to tick it over, you know?
Yeah.
With you, do you have like, is there processes or things that you kind of put yourself through when shit gets a bit too chaotic, or even with your music? I mean, you know, writer's block, things like that. Like, how do you deal with things like that?
I don't really deal with writer's block at all. Like there's times that I'm not writing and I used to worry about it, but it's just like, if I haven't done a shit in a few days, but I haven't been eaten, then I'm not worried because I know why I'm not shitting. So I always find with writing, it's just like, you just got to make sure to have a combination of living and challenging yourself and trying new things, and you'll always write. At least for me, I'll always write. With getting a little chaotic and like, I'm doing a lot better now with my mental health, you know, talking to my friends about stuff. I was hiding for a long time. And there was a lot of things I kept inside and I didn't speak to people about. And about a year and a half ago, maybe I started speaking to my friends about it. So that made me, it honestly felt like a bit of a cure to how I was feeling. But I still have my up and down days. Exercise is just, you got to do it. I took my housemate for a hate run yesterday. Do you know what hate running is?
No, what's hate running?
Sure you do a comment. I'm sure you do something similar to this in your training. Basically, hate running is when you got a lot of anxiety, you just go, I'm going to run now as hard as I can, as fast as I can. And when it starts hurting and I want to stop, I'm going to think about every fucking thing that's been getting at me, every person, everything,
100%.
everything I've been worried about, and I've been angry about, and I've been scared about, and I'm going to fucking run through it. And I'm going to I just call it a hate run.
That's a fucking dope name, yeah. But it's even more doper because of the concept behind it. Yeah.
Just you're so dead at the end that you can't not feel good.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Hate running. I've got this new idea. I want to have a new project called Good Dead.
Yeah.
And it was based because I was having sex with this girl a long time ago. And when we'd finish, you know, those sessions, you're so crazy in it for so long and you're fucked. And at the end, she'd be all fucked up and I'd be like, you okay? And she'd be like, dead. And I'd be like, you're all right though? She'd go, good dead.
Yeah, good dead.
At the end of the hate run, that's kind of what the feeling is. I've been thinking about this good dead concept because it could be like the end of a party or the end of the end of a training session is a great example where you're just like, you're so ruined. And everyone's like, you okay? And you're like, dead. And you're like, what? You're like, good dead. Like, I just did my hate run.
Yeah.
But maintenance for me, man, it's habits. Got to get up. I got to make my bed in the morning. I got to do that. I got my list on the wall, you know. Some things I'm not as good at. During lockdown last year, I meditated 20 minutes a day, twice a day for 6 months. And I was, man, so sharp. And I go in and out of meditation, but meditation for me is like, that's the fucking truth right there. If you can manage to continue doing it like consistently, like I get annoying. It's one of the only, when I try something I really like, my natural thing is that I want to get other people to do it. And I hold myself back on that because I don't want to become preachy. I know how annoying that is. Meditation is the final frontier of something that when I'm doing it, I cannot help. If my friends are like, how do you feel so good? Get ready for me to tell you for 2 hours.
Yeah. No, I'm the same, bro. I'm the same.
I can't. They say to me, I'm sure you've heard this. You go, oh, you should meditate. People go, nah, because I can't quiet my brain. And you're like, that's why you should meditate.
Yeah.
Oh, you go to the gym and lift weights. Nah, I can't lift real heavy weights. It's like, yeah, you don't go to the gym. That's why. But yeah, I'd say
it's funny. One of the things you just said there, which is something that I spoke to someone about when guy that I share similarities with. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say I meditate every day, but I lot more than I used to ever, in the mornings. And it's funny, like, a lot of people think about it quiet in your mind, but that's how you do it. Like, and you get that instant reward as well. Like, and you don't realize, man, like how much your body can repair itself if you allow it to. Like all these things, all these thoughts, all these exerted energy can impact your body in a way that you're like, this aches and pains and this weight on your shoulder can completely lift off. It's, you know, because we're dealing with so much more as life goes on than we probably did, you know, long time ago, I'm talking, you know, and this is a practice that's been there for ages. And it's funny because I was saying to him, like, the first time I did, and the guy that actually taught me Qigong, he just messaged me now because I just saw a photo of him. He was at this yoga thing and fucking had like 20 people, bro, all fucking meditating. And I was like, man, I can't imagine what it would have been like in that room at that moment. He just messaged me now as we're talking. He's like, bro, it was fucking crazy. Like, you know, and I said, it's so funny because you go through this experience and you feel like you're levitating, right? And then you think, okay, now that I've been through this experience, this is how I should be feeling. This is how I should be thinking. Fucking 2 days later, you're back in the shitter. You get what I'm saying? And it's like, and it's such a life lesson because you have to keep practicing it. You know, you have to keep practicing it. If you don't keep practicing it, you're not going to be able to feel the way you feel. You just think, just because I felt this way, I could feel like this every day now that I've been through it.
Yeah,
But yeah, bro, you know. And so when you were saying that, I was thinking to myself, fucking laughing, because I'm like, that's exactly what it's like. It's like, you gotta maintain it, and you gotta be consistent with it, you know, to be able to. It's not something that. It's not a process you can just go through and then just think, okay, now that I've been through it, my body, my mind, my soul is going to know this, and this is how I'm going to feel every day. No, within fucking couple of days, within the next day, even if shit goes down, you could easily start to creep into that way of behavior or feeling. You know what I mean? And that
there's such an easy way to explain it. It's water.
mm,
It's water.
mm,
You got to have it every day.
every day. Yeah.
You drink water one day and feel great. You don't drink it for 6 days.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Sorry,
just,
I didn't mean to cut you off. Just you
no,
saying that.
you weren't cutting me off. No, but yeah, completely right, man. It's
Water.
something
Like,
that,
that's
you gotta do it every day, and that's with anything, you know. And that's I think it's just the more you program yourself to understand that, I think your quality of life, like, you know, and that's the thing, man. People that haven't done it, or people that don't know, it's like, I always tell him, man, you got to earn the right to want to feel that way. You know, you got to earn the right to do it. You can't just, you know, not go to the gym or break. Some people don't want to break a sweat. Like, dude, if you don't want to break a sweat, fuck, we're not even talking the same language. You know what I mean? You're not even gonna understand why I think the way I think, you know, and why I feel the way I feel. It's hard to explain that to people that don't want to actually put in the work to want to feel that way, and reap the rewards of exercising or whatever it is, you know, having that, you know, even that, you know, you're talking about the run, like the hate run, you know, like things like that, you know. But that's you gotta like, it's a bit frustrating because it's like you've been open to all these things, and it's like you want to share it with others, you know what I mean, because of what they're going through or how they're feeling. But it's a lifelong lesson, man. Until you want it for yourself, it doesn't matter what the fuck anyone tells you, you know what I mean. You got to want it for yourself. Yeah, and that's it.
I find it's like the best thing you can do is lead by example, and when people come to you, you tell them what's up. But
that's it. Yeah.
But if not, because I mean, we're all learning. It's not like tell them what's up. Like I know the answers.
No,
but
of course not. Yeah.
Truths, and you need to exercise.
Yeah.
You need to eat well. You need to meditate. These are like they're such truths, man. They're just you can't. It's not. These aren't the subjective parts. You know what I mean? You don't have to listen to hip hop music. I love rap music as much as I love water. But you don't have to listen to it. But you have to fucking drink water. You know? Yeah. But then at the end of the day, yeah, if people don't want to, you know, lead a horse to water, you can't make a drink. It's just one of those. It's one of those things. But definitely leading by example, though. I always forget that. I hate social media so much, but everyone, someone will talk to me and be like, "You said something on your social media, it really connected with me." I'll be like, "Fuck, maybe it is worth talking into this." Fucking
I think, like anything, man, it's how you use it, you know. And I think that if you have a strong understanding of who you are and who you're trying to be, it fucking doesn't matter. Because if you don't have that way of thinking, or if you're not really sure of who you're trying to be, then social media can get you thinking and feeling a certain way that it's like it's a facade. It's just smokescreen, you know. But people don't realize that, you know. It's just because you're so diving into. It's like I was telling some dudes from from work when I was gonna finally leave where I was working after like fucking so many years, and there's this two older guys that you know, that I always used to go grab coffee with in the morning and stuff, and I was
Yeah.
telling them, I was like, dude, when you guys were growing up, if you wanted to be a mechanic, or if you wanted to be a painter, right, and you finally got to do it, you probably live in your life like, fuck yeah, I love my life, like I'm gonna get to be a mechanic, you know. And I said the difference was is that you didn't have anyone or anything to compare it to, because
Mm.
you're so secluded to your life that you were living and the environment that you were in. You didn't have like the gram or Facebook to be like, what's everyone else doing, you know what I mean? And so your mind's not infiltrated with thoughts like, oh, this is what success is, or this is what successful people are doing, or this is what I need to have, or this is how I should be carrying myself. So when you did
Yeah.
it, you fully embraced it, you know. And I
Mm.
said, now it's like, if someone wants to do something, and it could be, you know, it could be something that's not going to bring you the same dollar value that something else, you know, businessman or whatever can, you know, whatever you do can, but you're afraid to really embrace it and be like, man, I'm living my life, like I get to really live the best version of my life, because you're comparing it to this whole other world that you think
Mm.
is, you know, that exists, that you think is, that's dictating what, you know, how your own happiness and your own purpose in life, you know. And that's half the battle now. And you know, and man, there's people that straight up have this perception and have figured out what you're doing and what, you know, who you are, just on what they see. They know nothing else. They know nothing else about you except what they see, you know. And you talk to somebody, and those basic communication, the basic things that make us human beings, because we forgot what that's like. You don't realize when you talk to someone, damn man, like, you know, there's so much more to you than, you know, what they perceived in their head, like based on what they've seen on social media or whatever it is. So I think it's, end of the day, until you work on who you're trying to be and be so sure of what you're trying to do, like, it's a fucking doggy dog world, man. You're gonna be in a lot of trouble, you know. So
I think it's just like, why are you thinking about the other guy so much? Like, you got your own better nails. Fucking, yeah, it's got to be, yeah.
it's perspective, man. I always
Well, it's
say, you
weird.
know.
It's a
Yeah.
strange thing because it's almost like the best thing for you and everyone around you is to be selfish sometime and
Mm,
stop thinking about what everyone else is
mm,
doing.
mm.
You act like, you can get caught in an illusion that you're doing it because you give a shit in a good way, but yeah, comparison, man, it
Mm,
can ruin your relationship, it can ruin your
yeah.
career, it can ruin, yeah, like you always want to do better, but if you're not enjoying what you got, like you got to enjoy each step while you want to, it's a balance. See, once again, it's a
Mm,
balance. You want to do better, but you should also appreciate where you're at. You know what I
mm,
mean? Like
mm.
it's a real combination of the two.
Yeah, yeah,
I was lucky
definitely.
when I was rapping when I was younger because I say to my friends, I'm like, it's interesting because I'm making beats now. I've been listening to beats for 20 years. I've been rapping over beats for 20 years. So although I'm not very good at making beats, I can hear a beat and I can tell you if it's good or not. I've just got a good ear for it. When I was younger, I didn't have a good ear for rapping. So I tell my friends, I'm like, the thing you don't get is every rap I ever wrote from 12 till now is the best rap ever in my mind. You
Mm,
know what I mean? I wrote
mm,
that rap when I was 12. I was like, oh my God, this is the best rap ever. All my friends were like, that's the fucking shit. You're the man. Wrote rap when I was 15, same thing. 20, same thing. 30,
mm,
same thing.
mm.
Making beats now, though, it's different because I know I suck.
Yeah,
Difference is also though that I fucking enjoy that shit. I
yeah,
love it. Even if I make a beat that's not great, I'll send it to all my friends. The only difference is now my friends will go, "This beat's no good, man."
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But I'll be like, "Yeah. It's not
yeah,
great, but I learned this and this and this while
yeah, yeah,
doing it."
yeah. hundred
It's
percent,
more
bro.
about I'm
hundred
really like
percent.
excited about the accomplishment of the step as opposed to I made something that's like better than anybody. Like, no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
not
yeah,
good.
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
put this out. No, no, cool. But the step was good. The
Mm,
achievement of the learning was more powerful. Oh my
yeah,
God. I made a beat last night. I crossed a new level of making beats yesterday. And I said, honestly, my friends must be so annoyed because I've sent about 20 people the same beat like 5 times because I sent the beat because I was like, this beat's the shit. And then I went and mixed more on it. And then I'd
yeah,
send it like 20 minutes later. I changed some shit. I
yeah,
changed
yeah,
some.
yeah. They're just constantly getting bombarded.
Got
Yeah,
to like 2 a.m. and I was
yeah,
like, I think I'm just going to send a message to all of them that says, hey, if you feel like listening to the most like up to date thing of this beat, just tell me, or else I'm just going to keep every 20 minutes sending you like the same beat over and over and over again.
Uh,
But it's the steps, it's having passion about that's it. Like being passionate about every
yeah,
change you make in that instrument,
100%, hundred
every
percent.
change you make. It doesn't matter. It's not as good as Premiere or whoever, the
Yeah,
GOAT is.
yeah,
It's just like, fuck, man, I learned this new thing. Oh my
yeah,
God. Passion for learning, man. If people can find that, they'll fucking succeed.
yeah. Well, you look at like even yeah, like even Cole, like J. Cole, like he's into making beats, and I think it was who was it? It was Corday. Corday was saying he's got J. Cole a J. Cole beat, and he goes, "Man, J. Cole's so underrated," and because we're so used to his artistry and rapping, he actually does have a passion for making beats. And Corday in an interview was saying in his new album, his debut album that's coming out, new album, sorry, not the debut because he already dropped an album, but yeah, he was saying he had a J. Cole beat. He was like, man, this dude's like fucking so underrated as a beat maker, but because you don't, but it'll be the same story, man. It's like why I started this whole thing with like people like their version of success, man. Like, for example, like you think of celebrities or whatever, there's this perception of this like not being able to touch them, feel them, see them. But I always say, man, these people were just like me or you, fucking in a coffee shop or wherever it is, walking anywhere, and no one took notice. You know what I mean? No one took notice, and they just they went through the emotional, the suffering, the want, the need, the failures, just like anybody. Nothing was just fucking handed to them, But it's whether you choose to see it. And that's the way I looked at success with people around me, and whether it was combat athletes or people like yourself. Like my version of what I think success is, I don't need it to get to a point where it's like, oh, okay, it's so fucking untouchable. Like, it's like, oh, this dude, like your Drakes or whoever it is, right? Your Kendricks, whoever. They would have just been like me or you fucking rolling around, you know what I mean? But they earned their right to get to that spot, man. So I just think everything's perspective, bro. Everything's perception. I just think how you think and how you feel is gonna lay the platform in just in anything, and how you see life in general, man. So but look, man, I won't take too much of your time, man. I really appreciate it. I was fucking looking forward to this chat, man. I really was. I'm a big fan, man, and I'm looking forward to you dropping your next project as well. And hopefully, man, I don't know when things are going to get back to normal, but hopefully I get to see you live sometime as well, and fucking get to kick it.
Are you in Sydney or Brizzy, did you say?
Sydney, bro. Yeah,
I'll come out.
yeah, fucking oath, man. I mean, I always, I used to try to head down. I used to head down to Melbourne a couple of times a year as well, to come visit my cousin and stuff. So, yeah, one way or another, man. I would love to see you fucking live sometime. But, man, keep doing your thing, man. Don't even fucking worry about, the status level of Kendrick or whatever. Like, your music's fucking dope, man. And sometimes it's just you don't know what life's gonna throw at you, man. But your music is fucking dope, and I love it, man. I really do. I'm a big fan, and it's something that I want to do as well. I want to provide. I know, like in the actual scene, people know each other, but like I just feel like I wanted to go past the scene now. I wanted to get it to a point where, like, commercially, through other aspects and whatever it is, people listen to this music and respect it and receive it the same way. And a lot of it is an ego thing and a perception thing. Like when people think hip hop, whatever, they think it's just one, it's just, kind of, they think of the States or whatever it is, and they're just so delved into that. But if you're a fucking music lover and you're a hip hop lover and you love bars and you love rhymes and thingers, you just lend your ears and you'll be fucking, it's like I was rolling around with my wife today playing your album, and she just looks at me, she goes, fuck, he's so good. I said, yeah, I know. That's why I'm fucking talking to him, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I look at her, I said, that's why. I said, I know my shit. I know when I listen to music, I know good music, And I looked at her and she's like, Dad, she's like, and she was just, not that she was expecting anything else, but she just was, some people, when they really lend their ears and they really listen to it, like
Yeah.
I have yesterday on my playlist. Like I have a working out playlist, like a running playlist, and I got
Yeah.
yesterday on it, and we're listening. And so when that was the first track I played to her, that was yours, and I know what kind of vibe. Like she loves dance hall and things like that, but I know she knows music as well. Like and we share that. Me and her both share that. But yeah, and then she was just like today we were driving back and from the shops, and I was playing Happy is Cool, and she was like, man, she's like, fuck, this is so cool. And then she goes, what's his name? And I go, it's Kudos. And then she's on her phone trying to, like she's like on Spotify, and you know what I mean? So and that's the level I want to fucking take it to, where it's like, yo, like look around you, man, there's some fucking dope people around us, and we need to stop waiting for someone to tell us that this is dope to fucking listen to, or this dude's cool to respect, or whatever it is, like just fucking pay attention. It's all around you. Successful people are all around us, and that's why I tell people it's whether you fucking pay attention to it or not, and that's the difference, so but yeah, man, look, fucking I really appreciate you giving me your time, man. Well, by the sounds of it, not like you could do much anyway in Melbourne. So fucking, this is probably something different.
Making
But
beats.
yeah, making beats. But I'm looking
Whatnot.
forward to it, man. I'll hopefully, fucking one day we get to actually see each other eye to eye, and I get to fucking see you perform, and keep doing your thing, man. I love your music. I think it's dope, and I think you're dope as a person, man. And hopefully this is one of many fucking chats in the future, bro. It doesn't always have to be about music, man. Clearly we can take shit to another level in terms of conversation. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I really am.
Cool, man. Thanks heaps for
Yeah.
having me, dude.
Nah,
Appreciate it. And look out, the happy behind the smile is going to be on the way real soon.
fucking earth,
So
man. I'll be sharing it anyway, man. So yeah, once I'm done and I think, man, I'll tag you, and yeah, man, we'll go from there. Yeah.
fuck yeah, dude.
Appreciate you, bro. Thank you, man.
Much love. I'll catch you soon.
Fucking earth. Yeah.
Peace, bro.
Cheers, bro.